Hey, Sarnia Lambton, it's Dean Holtz here, the chairman of the board of directors with the Sarnia Lambton Celebration of Lights, joined by my buddy John Charest, the vice chairman of the board of directors. And what we're going to do for you tonight, we've been doing the last few years, which is our live video walkthrough. Well, it's live for us. We're probably going to post it later. That's okay. We want to take you through all the lights. And we started doing this in COVID because we understood that not everybody would want to come down or could come down. And then also thinking of those who are maybe shut in for one reason or another, we want to give them opportunity to kind of see the lights up close and also maybe learn a little bit of the story of both the light displays and the sponsors. So without further ado, we're going to get started, and we're actually going to swing back around this way and start off in the parking lot here that is north of Centennial Park, north of the Agora stage. And we have on these light posts these shooting stars, we call them, right, John?
Yeah, they're falling shooting stars.
Now, the business that sponsors this display is Liberty Tax. They've been with us for a number of years. And we actually, most of our sponsors have been with us a number of years. Some have been with us for a very long time, and we appreciate that support. We also appreciate all the new sponsors that come on board. So these are affixed to the light posts, and it's a great entryway as people come. This is the larger parking lot to park in here at Centennial Park, and people come in here usually and enjoy the light display starting from the north. All right, so that's awesome. So now we're going to swing around here. And the first display that we got over this way is our red trees. Now, this used to be sponsored by MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They haven't been able to sponsor it the last couple of years, so we released it to other sponsors. And this year, and I think last year as well, but certainly this year, this is sponsored by a local individual, a lady who sponsored it in memory of her mom.
Actually, it's where is it?
Oh, my apologies. No, I'm thinking of another display. So this one's sponsored. This is a brand new sponsor, Black Creek Outfitters, and it's in loving memory of Alex Saborin. So we actually have a lot of displays that were sponsored in memory of a loved one, oftentimes a loved one who loved the Celebration of Lights. And so we certainly think it's a wonderful way of families cherishing their loved one to sponsor in that way. So we have the red trees. You can see some of them aren't lit. We are having issues with some of the electrical, not our electrical so much as the infrastructure in the ground, which is beyond our control, but at least some of them are lighting up tonight for us. We still put up the sign for MAD though, just for awareness, because we think that's a good thing. We certainly don't want to see anybody succumb to the tragedy of being injured or worse because of drunk driving. All right, this display, we've had this one, how long, John?
20 years.
20 years, wow. This is our marching soldier display. And this sponsor, Gracework Construction, they actually sponsor two different displays, so this is one of them. This particular display, when it's working properly, there's a modulator that has them come on in succession, so you can see where one of them has the arm down, the next one has the arm up, and the idea is it looks like they're marching along. We actually refurbished these. All these frames were repainted, rust removed, and then we had to restring the lights. And we actually did the four middle ones with rope light this year, which we really like that. We're actually thinking we may possibly start doing that on more and more displays. But as you can see, we're having some electrical issues with that one as well. Again, it's the infrastructure in the ground. We're working with the city on that, but it's affecting some of our displays. But we'll get working on it and try to get that lighting up again. So that same thing is affecting the display next to it because we have floodlights to show up. This was actually donated by Sure Signs a couple of years ago. We have these iconic characters. We have Frosty the Snowman from the movie, and we got Rudolph and Santa. Rudolph is actually my wife's favorite iconic Christmas movie. And this one is sponsored by Sarnia Pharmacy. They came on board with us last year, and the owner of that, he was happy to come on board again this year. So that's a great addition. Kids love that one. And then right beside it, we've got these beautiful swans. It's nice to have those visible from the roadway. This display has been sponsored by Platinum Properties, a local real estate firm that is owned and operated by Courtney Levert, and she is always super stoked to sponsor these beautiful swans. When did we get these ones, John?
Well, these are probably like maybe 15 years ago.
15 years. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. And as you notice, like, if you go to most municipalities that have light displays, not literally every display is what we classically think of as Christmas. Oftentimes there's other things that just, express the beauty that we get to see in this world. Something like a beautiful swan. We don't have too many of them in this area, but at least we have them lit up for the celebration lights. Let's circle around here. Now this is a little more iconically Christmas, if you will. We got the skating family. Now, John, we added a couple more characters just a couple years ago, didn't we?
Yeah, those four down there.
Yep.
Man and the dog on the sleigh, and man and a woman putting ice skates on.
Yep. Yep. So this is a nice, fun display here, and this one is nice and colorful. And I apologize, I don't have the sponsors all memorized because we have 50 some displays. Some of them I know who. Yes, so this is a new sponsor this year, Lambton Metal Service. They came on board this year to sponsor this display. And again, just a great, fun family display. For those people, especially who grew up in more northern communities where you could look forward to doing outdoor skating in the wintertime, this actually has some deep meaning to it. All right, while we're here, we'd be remiss if we didn't take time to go to our biggest and most iconic display. Absolutely. Also because it's got our name on it, which is what we call the Candle Arch. Now, John, remind our community, when did we get this display?
This one here we had this in the year 2000. And so we decided to revert it to LED, probably for more practical energy use. But over the years we changed colors. We put blue flames in the tops.
Yep.
And then we changed the name to LED because we had an RGB but it wasn't functioning properly.
Yeah.
Which it makes it more easier to see when you're driving down the road.
It's such a beautiful display, and John was telling the board a number of years ago kind of a fun fact. I know we've shared this before, but for those who may be new to watching this or learning this display, when we got it at this time, this display, the manufacturer who designed it and built it, this was the largest version they had built. They normally built this display not with the word celebration lights, that was added for us, but they'd have the same display minus the words, but it was meant to go over a walkway, so it was a lot smaller. So at the time that we got it in 2000, they had told us that was the largest version of their display actually designed to go over roadways. So it's kind of unique possibly in the world by that manufacturer. So that's kind of a treasure for us. And it's absolutely our most iconic display. If we're gonna post a picture that has to do with the celebration of lights, it's almost always this one. All right. Let's circle around here now. This string of lights that's up in the trees. Oh yes. Yeah, we can't forget Blue Water Power. They've been an amazing partner with our organization. Not only have they sponsored this, and actually going back to the Candle Arch, we put that up for auction. It's the only display we do this where we actually auction off and people bid on the sponsorship of it. So Blue Water Power has won that the last 2 years, but they also are very generous. They actually take care of all of our costs associated with the lighting competition. Not everyone realizes, but the lighting competition that happens here in Sarnia for the houses to see who gets the prize for the best lit house for Christmas lights has actually been run by the Celebration of Lights. It's not done by the city or some other organization, and it's Blue Water Power that takes care of the cost for the prizes and everything. We send judges out, and the judges are always at arm's length. They're not part of our organization, new judges every year, and we send them out in a limo. We treat them really good to a good night to go out and judge all the homes. Jen Johnson is a local realtor with RE/MAX. She's the one who oversees that for us. She also brought in a few years ago where we have kids who judge. So they judge their own favorite home. And then she also had the amazing idea of bringing in the People's Choice Award, which we call the Harvey McMichael Award. The The Harvey McMichael Award is named that because Harvey McMichael was the man that the Celebration of Lights was started based upon. He put up an amazing display in his home on Oak Street back in the 70s and 80s. When he passed, his family donated the lights and the displays to be put up at the park, and it's grown into all of this. And so Jen had the idea, and we thought it was amazing that we would have the People's Choice be the Harvey McMichael Award. And Harvey McMichael is the grandfather of Janice McMichael Dennis, who is the current CEO of Blue Water Power. So there's such a deep community family connection there. We just love all of that. So now going on to these lights here, we don't have a formal sponsor for them, but we do like to put lights in the trees. We have some further down just to kind of light up the pathway and just brighten up the area. Now let's circle back here. This is a really old display, I think, John, this mailbox, right?
This goes back to the beginning, 40 years ago.
40 years. This is our 40th anniversary. Happy birthday to us. Happy anniversary. 1984 is when this all started, and this is the only, I think, original display, isn't it, John?
It is, yeah. It was it was actually a part of another display piece that goes next to it.
Yeah.
Of a little girl throwing a letter that bared the symbol of the Lung Association on it. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that piece fell apart, and so this is what we got left.
Yeah.
A mailbox.
Great part of history for our organization. Guardian Real Estate Management Incorporated came on board this year as a new sponsor. We really appreciate that, and they were happy to sponsor this iconic display as well. So let's, as we're going along here, let's swing over here. This is a fun one. This one we kind of restored. The frame we didn't do much restoration on, but we really decked it out with lots of new lighting. It's a lot of fun. Kids love it. Santa is a sleigh. This one's sponsored by Sheena Lasby, also a realtor with Remax. You're going to see a bit of a trend with that. We have a lot of realtors that are very generous in this community, and yeah, her kids love it, and that's because all kids love Santa, so that's a fun one. Let's move along here. This is another one that the kids absolutely adore. So one of our past chairmen and board members, Bill Swisham, he had this idea. He says, you know, I think the kids really like lots of flashy, blinky lights, and they kind of like a DJ dance floor. So his idea was to create this here. Now, what should be happening is on the screen over here is we did have a projector that would project the image with the music, but unfortunately, a few days before we were going to have our opening ceremonies where we turn all the lights on, somebody in the community decided to remove the projector, and we did get another one donated, but it hasn't been set up yet. So we have the flashing, blinking lights, but eventually we'll get everything set up again, and this usually draws a pretty good crowd of kids. They usually love this display. And the sponsor for this one is the same as last year, Plains Midstream, another local industry, very generous, and they're happy to do this and to be a part of what we're doing in and for the community. Now, as we go over this way, this is something a lot of people are asking for, eh, John? These houses over here on the left. We used to have 6 or 7 of them, didn't we?
Yeah, we had quite a few. There was about 6, 7, 8 of them.
And we'd have them in a semicircle, kind of like a little village, and they're open, and the kids would love to go in and play in them. And so we had these sponsored by 3 different businesses. We have a new one, Overwolf Technologies. We have Generation Paint for this middle house, and then this third one by Innis Family Medicine. All 3 of those businesses are new sponsors this year, all 3 of them. So these houses were built by Shell, but then they were decorated by 3 different local high schools. Now this one obviously by Northern. The other 2, I apologize, I'm not 100% sure who decorated. I think Great Lakes did one, and then one of the other high schools did the other one, but we appreciate their work on that, and the kids do love it. Fun fact with this one here, Austin, who's the young man who's the owner of Overwolf Technologies, I'm going to relate it to the next display we're going to look at, which is Noel's Gift House, which is a house similar to this. We had posted that he had come on board to sponsor that, but then a lot of people on Facebook responded with this idea, maybe we should open that up to a community donation drive. And so I thought, wow, that's a great idea. So I went back to Austin. I said, Austin, do you have a particular personal connection with the Noel's Gift House? He says, no, I know what it's about and I believe in the organization. I said, well, would you be open? We have another new house that you could sponsor. It's the same amount, and we could release the Noel's Gift House to offer up for donation, and he said, yeah, that's great. So I just love that flexibility, that community spirit. So a shout out to Austin. So what that did is it freed up for Noel's Gift House, which is right over here. And this is in honor of that organization and in honor and loving memory of Noel, who was tragically taken from us too early. And that organization is doing good things. And basically, it's just sponsored by the community. So here's what we've done. We've put it on Facebook. We said, listen, if the community comes together and can sponsor $1,000 for this sponsor, and we'll leave the sponsorship open until the lights go off on January 1st, 2025, then we will donate half of that to Noel's Gift for Children charity. So we've got $200 come in, so we're 20% of the way there. So we just want to encourage everybody, whether it's $50, $100, $10, whatever you can, we appreciate it. But can we at least get to that goal? But here's the beautiful thing. Anything we get over the $1,000, the Celebration Lights will donate half of that. So if we get $1,500, then Noel's Gift House gets $750. If we get $2,000, they get $1,000. So we're using this as a means to bless another good community organization. All right, let's swing around to this one. School of Fish. Now this one's been sponsored by RDOB and Engineering for a number of years. They just have been stalwart sponsors and partners with us to make sure that these things happen. These are nice and colorful, aren't they, John?
Oh yes, they are. Usually they animate with the fins and the tails and the bubbles, but the animation control box is no longer working anymore.
Right.
As long as they're lit up, you can see it.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of technology that goes into certainly some types of light displays, and if we want to have animation, there's going to be more technology, which means there's more that can go wrong. At the very least, we know we can have the lights on and on all the time, and sometimes those control boxes kind of conk out us at the last minute. We can't have them running for this year, but we might get it going for next year. But certainly it's nice and colorful, and we like that. Just here, a little shout out behind us. We have a number of trees, and these are just a number of general sponsors that help make the opening ceremonies happen. And we have CNC Coatings who have helped us with coating the frames. The Village of Point Edward, they actually covered the cost for the production, which is the company that does the sound and lighting for the band for the opening ceremonies. Sterling Crane, that offers their crane for our crane days, both to set up and tear down the big displays like the Candle Arch. Babcock Welding and Fabricating, more Marine and Shoreline Services, they provide the barge for the fireworks at the opening ceremonies, which is amazing. The City of Sarnia, they waived all our fees for the next couple of years. I think we're on year 2 or 3 of the 4 years that they've given us, which is worth about $4,000 a year. So that's nothing to snuff at. We really appreciate the City of Sarnia helping out with that. Sandrin Services, which has their yard just around the corner, they allow us to put our sea cans there, which is where we store everything, which is super convenient to have it right around the corner. Loyal Order of Moose, they just are generous with their donation to help underwrite the cost of the opening ceremonies. And then Ben Goetz has helped in the past with donating towards the houses. Now, here's the thing, the opening ceremonies, which this year was on Saturday, November 30th. It's always the last Saturday in November. That's what we've done the last many years. 1 week before the Santa Claus Parade. It kind of a way to start your Christmas traditions, your Christmas season. That's an event that takes almost $20,000 to run, because what we endeavor to do is to make it a free event. We don't ticket, we don't have a fence. People will just walk in and enjoy. We have hot drinks provided by Blackwater Cafe, and they're made free in combination with donations by Imperial Oil. We have Sarnia Blessing providing food. We had photos provided free by Limitless Photography, which is Teresa Chalmers, professional printed photos with Santa to families for free. Everything is done in mind of making it a free, accessible event for all families. This year, even though it was a little colder, a little windier than past years, we still had about 2,000 people come out, so it was a good crowd. But it's sponsors like this that make that event free and possible. Okay, moving right along. We've got Shipwreck over here, just around on the parking lot here. Now this is a fun display. I mean, one could say, you know, Christmas is supposed to be full of joy. Why do we have a shipwreck? Well, part of the reason is, John, is because we had a number of displays that were, I think, donated to us that were kind of a theme of marine and sea, because we're a waterfront community. So
yeah, this was originally the theme called Port Sarnia. Port Sarnia consists of anything nautical. Basically, you have shipwreck, the anchors, lighthouse, Mermaid,
Yep.
and Neptune's Castle.
Yep.
So we decided to put shipwreck here because nothing in this area is lit up.
Right. Right. And so this whole area is kind of the nautical theme. John is not only our vice chairman, but he's the director of displays. So he's the one that chooses where the displays go. And some displays, like the candle arch, are in the same spot. But there's a number of displays that get changed around. So some people, we got comments on Facebook that say it's the same thing every year. Actually, no, it's not. We do change around, and that's John's idea. That's John's vision to shake things up. And of course, we're always refurbishing and trying to add. Our sponsor for this display is Wolverine. They've been with us for a number of years. We really appreciate that. We did have a little bit of an issue with this one where and it was no fault of the display or our extension cord, but there was again an issue with some of the electrical infrastructure where one of the cables actually was smoking, and it was found out and it was put out, and it didn't end up being an issue but with this display. But you know, we run into these things even though we get electrical inspections done, and we deal with it and we move forward. But we also have the anchors now. They were refurbished, was it for this year, John?
This year, yeah.
Yeah, nice bright blue, brilliant, beautiful color to them.
There's
Yep.
2 here.
Yep.
And 2 there.
And 2 over there. And the sponsor for that display is Electrozad. And they came on board last year with us. And they were excited to sponsor again. And the thing I like about this display is it's making use of something that's already here, the light post, but it's very visible from the road. Obviously, some of our displays that are further over that way, close to the water, they're not as visible from the road, so you kind of have to get out to see them. But we definitely have a good array of displays that you can just drive by and see very nicely, and this is one of them. So let's swing back around and finish up this nautical theme. So let's go over to one of our other large displays that requires that crane from Sterling Crane, which is Neptune's Castle. Now, John, that one got restored, was it 2 or 3 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago, yep. And this one does have a little bit of animation. You kind of see over the top of the doorway, you see the sparkling lights, kind of to give the notion of maybe some jewels there. Neptune being the king of the sea. And this is his castle. And when John oversaw the restoration of this one, he really wanted to ramp up the colorfulness of this display, and he did a great job. So this one has a new sponsor this year, well, new to it, and that is Kurt Nadjian, who is also a realtor with Exit Realty Community. He actually sponsored a different display last year. Actually, I think it's the one beside that we'll talk about in a minute. But when he heard this one is available, he jumped all over it. He loved the idea of this big, beautiful display. So we're appreciative of Kurt for that. And yeah, Neptune's Castle, it's grand. It's a beautiful light display for us to show off. So again, so we have the School of Fish, we have the shipwreck and the post anchors. We've got Neptune's Castle. Now we go this way, and we have more sparkly happening with Mermaid. Specifically, we could say Ariel from The Little Mermaid with the red hair. And we have another new sponsor. We have about 50 displays, and I'm going to say off the top of my head about maybe 20 new sponsors. The Bat Pack is the new sponsor for this one, and this also is a fun and colorful display that just fits so well with our nautical theme. And we really appreciate these businesses, whether they're new to this area or just new to helping our organization. And they always come with enthusiasm, which I really appreciate, whether it's by email or phone call or text. But they're so happy to jump on board. As you can see, we have a number of trees in the park that we just string lights up. And that's no small task. That takes some time. We have a couple of guys at least, some ladies and guys that spend a lot of time putting that up, and usually that has to be done even after our community setup day, because on that day, the community setup day, we're focusing on getting the main displays. Now this display is another grand one. This is Lighthouse. Now this is sponsored by Ian and Tanya Mitchell, and this one is it's been with us a long time, John. Again, when did we get this one?
This was 2000 as well.
Yeah, that's kind of a theme. We got a lot around the 2000s. This is actually a very tall display, as you can see, and actually the very top of it, we set this up, it gets assembled on the ground, we lift it with manpower, but then John has to use what's called a JLG, which is a lift over there, and then he has to put the top of the lighthouse on after it's in place. Because of the design of it, there'd be too much top weight, and it would probably put too much stress on the frame to put that together and then try to lift it. So there's little things we learn from doing this for so many years of how we need to do it well. All right, and yet again with this nautical theme, we have sailboat. That's certainly a popular thing in this area. Lots of people love boating, lots of people love sailboating. We have the yacht club not far from here. WMA Promotions, Wayne Archer, awesome guy. He actually served on our board for a little bit, and he's just so thoughtful and helpful, and yeah, he loves the boating life, and he's happy to sponsor this display. This one's a lot of fun as well. Next to it, we have, I believe, the last of our nautical displays, John, which is our buoy marker.
That's buoy marker, yep.
Now, this one in the past, it's been such that it actually would light up so that the different portions of the frame would light different times. It would look like the buoy was bouncing in the water. But again, we need a modulator to do that, and that's not working. We don't have it right now. So down the road, if we can get that working, we will, but at least it's all lit up. LJ Custom Fence and Deck, they've been with us for a few years now, I think about 3 or 4 years, and we really appreciate their partnership and their sponsorship with this display. So that, I think, ends our nautical displays, if I'm not mistaken, John?
Yeah, yep, that is.
Okay, let's backtrack here. This is a nice display. Did we get this one in 2000 as well, John?
Yep.
Good guess. This is Gift Box Bear, and this is one of those displays that sometimes we get the crane for. This year we were able to do it with manpower, but we needed like 20 people because this display is layered, and so it's actually a lot heavier than it looks just by its size. But this is a fun one. Now the middle areas, we see how it kind of lights up in different sections and says Happy Holidays across the top. This one's sponsored by Brisview Marine Services. They've been a sponsor with us for a number of years, and if I remember correctly, they've actually sponsored 2 displays with us this year, so we really appreciate that. So generous. Now, before we get to the next sponsored display, again, drawing attention to these trees with all these lights. This is a nice array of trees. We have a couple of guys that go over and above. It's a father and son team, Steve and Mitch Mustanjic, and they come out here and they spend hours in stringing these strings of lights up in these trees. And it just really adds a lot, because you would really kind of have a dead zone. Even you have got the street light there by the walkway, you'd have a bit of a dead zone when it comes to lighting, and it really adds a lot. And we really appreciate, we have a few volunteers like that go way over and above. We also have a team of 3 ladies, Paula Taylor, Kathy Marcinkowski, and Leslie Cadwallader, and those 3 ladies, they put in so much time. Huge shout out to the 3 of them. They come in days and days and days beyond the setup days that everyone else comes to, and to be honest, this would not happen if it wasn't for those 5 people on top of what the board does. So huge shout out to volunteers like that. Season's greetings, it says this is what we call postcard, I think, John?
Yeah, it is. It's season's greetings to all.
Yep. Yep. So it's a nice little classic, almost like a Hallmark scene.
Like a Christmas card style scene.
Mm-hmm. With that classic church in the background, kind of a snowy scene. And so here, the sponsor of this one has been with us for a few years now, CAA Insurance Company. They came on board, I think, 2 years ago. And not only do they sponsor, they actually come out. Kieran and another lady that's with the organization. I'm forgetting her name, I apologize, but they actually come out to the setup days, the teardown days, came out to opening ceremony, just said, how can we help? That's amazing, because it's not just about the money. Obviously everything takes money to happen, but it also, with something like this, takes a lot of time. It takes people hours to do, so we appreciate both forms of support. Now let's cross over here.
Normally these 4 candles would be lit up by floodlights, but there's an issue with the pole over there.
Yeah.
Again.
So again, what John's referring to by, there's poles in the ground that are owned and managed by the city, and there's issues with the electrical infrastructure somewhere. It's not our displays, it's not our extension cords. We're not trying to play the blame game, but the reality is we're trying to work with them to get everything going. But this is sponsored by Royalty Plumbing, so we're working with the city, and we'll try to get this back up and running as soon as possible. We've had these how long, John?
Oh, we got these from Dow Chemical before they closed shop. These are all kept, these ones here, and including 2 others we're going to go see soon. They came from Dow Chemical.
Would that be before 2000?
Yeah. That would be before 2000.
Yeah, I think they're some of our older displays. That's awesome. All right. So I was talking a minute ago about Steve and Mitch Mustanjic. Well, Mitch actually built this display right here, which is Canadian flag. Gotta love that. If you're proud of our country, I certainly am. And so he sponsors it with his business called Electric Cut, and he not only takes care of that display, but he's a huge help. Him and his dad with setup and teardown. We are so thankful for volunteers like that. Now, swinging back around this way, sponsored by Young Drivers is our candles. These ones were recently restored, right, John?
Yeah, these used to be, these are 2000, year 2000 displays, but they got stripped and then RGB got light added to them.
Yeah. And so when John says stripped, what has to happen, kind of a close-up here, but the frame of the image has to be sandblasted and then repainted, usually with white, and then you have to apply the strings of lights and affix it somehow, whether it's zip ties or tape. That's very time consuming, and to do it in such a way that the image is going to show properly. And so whenever we restore, and usually invariably there's 1 or 2 or more displays every year that need restoration. When you have 50 displays, there's usually something that has to be done. It's kind of like your home. There's always some work that has to be done. Okay, now we're coming up. This is one of the favorite displays, I think, John? It's actually one we don't own. There's this is the only display I think that we don't actually own, and that's okay. H.C. Stark owns this light tunnel. They not only own it, but they store it, they set it up, they maintain it, they tear it down. So it's just here, but it's part of the Celebration of Lights, and we appreciate them doing that. And this has been a favorite of a lot of people. A lot of little kids love this. We've had proposals, wedding proposals happen here. So this is definitely a highlight in the community. Before we go down the pathway, let me just swing over here. John, now this one, even though sadly it's not lighting up, and again, we're going to get on that, and it's the same problem with the other ones that are not lighting up, it's electrical infrastructure. Yeah. This is our tobogganers. When did we get this one?
In 2000.
I could have guessed that. Now, this one's a lot of fun, and we have had the RGB lights on this. I mean, there still are the RGB where there can be motion and that sort of thing. So it kind of looks like they're rolling along and tobogganing. The sponsor for this one, is Smith Funeral Home. They actually came on board with us, I believe, last year. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was last year. They came, maybe the year before. But again, they're very excited. You know, everybody who comes on board, John's getting a little bit too late up there. Everyone who comes on board, they don't do it reluctantly. They don't do it haphazardly. They do it with such joy and zeal, and we really appreciate that. Okay. So you can see over here we have more lights that are strung up in trees. Again, there's no sponsors for those. We just have the volunteers like Steve and Mitch and Paula and Leslie and Kathy who take care of that sort of thing. It just adds that light, that color, where otherwise it'd be kind of a dead zone, a bit of a dark spot. We don't want that if we can help it. Now, this one's beautiful. This is our horse and carriage. This one is sponsored by Lori Summers. She's a commercial broker with Remax Metropolis. Like I said, going to see a theme here. A lot of real estate agents sponsoring these displays. This one, when did it get restored, John?
Not this one. There's another one like this one that was restored last year.
Oh, okay. So this one hasn't been restored recently.
No.
So it's holding up well, because it almost looked like it had sort of been restored, but it's still showing off in good condition, nice colors. And this one is one that is also very much loved by a lot of people. Now, across the path, we'll kind of jockey back and forth here. This was a lot of fun. This is our carousel. And this one is sponsored by Sarnia Lambton Optimist Club. And they've been on board with us for a couple years as well. And this is definitely a fun one. The kids love to go right in the center, right where the camera is right now, and kind of run in and in between these. So as a result, we try to make sure we don't have too much cabling in between. We don't want anybody to trip, but the kids do like this one. At times we've had animation on these, but again, that all depends on the availability of controllers. But at least we have it all well lit for people to enjoy. Now this one over here, it's not the horse and carriage. What's it called, John? It's similar.
2 horses and a coach.
2 horses and a coach.
Yeah.
Now this one is sponsored by Remax Sarnia Realty. April Bernard, the brokerage owner of Remax Sarnia Realty, has always been very gracious and generous. They've been very involved. In fact, her dad was very involved with sponsorship many years ago with the Celebration of Light. She's continued that tradition on. Many times they've also offered a tent at the opening ceremonies where a couple agents come and just make themselves available to help. And we appreciate that spirit of generosity and helpfulness. Again, more strings of lights in these trees and in these ones. But in this case, these trees with these strings of lights are kind of straddling one of our smallest, if not our smallest display, but probably our funnest display, and that is Santa Motorcycle, sponsored by Babcock Welding and Mark Reynolds. Mark Reynolds is an agent with Street City, him and his wife Emma actually, and they sponsor this with their good friend Paul Babcock Jr. A lot of fun. Kids love that one. That one's colorful. Did that one get restored recently, John?
No.
See, that's another one that looks like it has been because it's in such good condition. It's amazing how some displays need restoring after just a few years and other ones persist for a long time and still look like new. Now this one, I don't think we ended up getting sponsored out, did we, John?
No, it's just a display just to fill the empty gap.
Yep. Yep, so that's a present display. We can maybe look for a sponsor for that for next year. Again, more lights on the trees. Now, let's go far over this way. We're gonna go to our most southern display, which is our Season's Greetings. Now that one, I'm pretty sure got restored recently, right, John?
Nope.
It didn't. Okay.
But this one here came from the the old Point Edward Charity Casino.
Okay. So see, folks, this is why we have to have John here, because I don't know this stuff. I have to keep asking John, but that's okay. He's the catalog of information. He's the historian, if you will. This is a bright display. Now this one has a fairly new sponsor as of last year. It's none other than our local radio station, Blackburn Media. All 3 of the main radio stations of Fox and 106.3 and CHOK. They band together to provide this beautiful display. So whereas at the north end of the park you come in and obviously what you see is the candle arch with celebration lights, when you come from the south end to enter in and see, what you see is this beautiful Season's Greetings sign, bright and gorgeous. And John, you placed it in this location for the first time, what, about 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, I think so. It's because of its size, and it's the best place for the crane to get at it.
Yep. Yeah, and I think it's also just a great way to bookmark the park, like I said, when you come from this way, you got something large and iconic to see. All right, now we got another really fun display. This one is called the Firefighter's Tree. How long has this one been going up, John?
I think they first brought it to the park maybe in 1990, I believe.
1990?
They were at the Atlanta Mall one year selling light bulbs for $1
Yeah.
to make the tree.
Yeah.
So this tree actually originally was incandescent light bulbs, but now introduction of RGB technology
Yep.
made it a dancing tree now.
This is here, which are the modulators. That's what controls all the flashy, blinky fun with it. And a lot of people like to lay down underneath the tree and then get pictures of themselves and looking up into the tree from underneath. So it's a lot of fun. People love this display a lot too. All right, let's swing around down here. Around this way. Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. So we have this display over here. This one is gingerbread, beer, and presents. And this one is sponsored by that family. They don't have anyone, as far as I know, living in Sarnia anymore, but they definitely had family that were in Sarnia. They love the celebration lights. They've been sponsoring this display for a long time, and they continue with that tradition. How long have we had this one, John?
It's a mix of years, different years, between 2000 and 2005, I believe.
Okay. Royal Horse and Carriage. Now, this one was restored recently, right, John?
Last year.
Oh, yeah, I got it right. Okay, awesome. Yeah.
This one was tragically falling apart like crazy. This was another Point Edward Charity Casino display. Unfortunately, well, when they store their stuff at their casino, they left it out in the hot sun. That's why it fell apart.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think, even though there's the metal displays, that they'd endure, but they're subject to the elements as well. So our sponsor for this is Express Employment Professionals. And they've been a sponsor with us for a couple of years now. Sue, who's the owner of that, she has just been excited to partner with us, and this is a large, beautiful display that people will love. Thank you, Sue, and your team for partnering with us on that. Okay.
What's doing?
I've been on for a while. My wife has been since she's been a young girl. And so they're family friends, and this time he wanted to sponsor it through his new photography business. Check him out. This guy is talented. He's really good at landscape and wildlife photography, so you should check him out. Omi Nerves Photography, and it gets that saying because, yes, he's from Newfoundland. Anyways, this display is just kind of that classic feel. You know, you think of days gone by, and you see the difference in the garb, like the older kind of coats and hats. For some families, not in our family, a lot of families, like they always do with the Christmas tree, it's gotta be real. And this now, this display is the second one, as I mentioned, sponsored by Bridgeview Marine Services. Again, we're having issues with the electrical infrastructure, but we've got these two beautiful red candles straddling the new Sarnia sign.
Yeah, these ones here, these came from Suncor.
Right.
So these ones are, so.
We'll get them lit up again soon. The idea was to have them straddling the Sarnia sign. And the Sarnia sign, I'm not sure, is it always green now for our display, or do they change colors on it?
I think it changes automatically.
It changes automatically, okay. Well,
I think each day it's a different color.
Put in a request, I guess. Because those are red, it would be cool to leave it green, in my humble opinion. Most other light displays that are our size are certainly bigger. They're either done by the municipality or the municipality hires it out to the company, which is fine. But we're all just community volunteers. Yeah, it is the sponsor. It's actually big man.
you.
The penguins at the top, those flashes, especially, so it looks like they're sliding down and landing basically from the bank of snow. Again, that's something we're going to have to address again. There's many times we'll set these things up and they're good to go for opening ceremonies, and then afterwards this, that, or that doesn't work. And then we just try to deal with it as it goes. So we do our best. This one beside it, sponsored by Sunday Tire Craft. They've been a sponsor with us for a number of years. And this is a fun one. It's fishing penguins. Is this another 2000 display, John?
No, this is another one from the casino.
Casino. And when did they donate? Do you know what year they donated that? Approximately?
Probably 9 years ago.
9 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so definitely newer to us. You don't have any idea how long they had them for?
I don't know. They had probably had them for a while. I think when they opened up the casino, I think they bought displays for the casino to light up on. But I think after they sold it, changed hands, they had to get rid of the stuff.
Now this one here, is this the exit tree here, or is that down there?
That's the exit tree.
Okay, so swinging around here, we got this nice iceberg blue. So this is sponsored by Exit Realty Community, owned by Steve Jenkins, and we lighted up nicely with the color that's similar to the spine to the Grand Color up their logo. And Steve's always excited to partner with us. Again, you get another real estate agent, another broker, the generosity of many businesses, but not the least of which our local real estate agents inspires me. Okay, now here's something we've had for a while, and the kids love this too. Not just the kids though, a lot of adults like this. We have these cutouts. They were all done. I think it was, certainly we don't P. McGinnis did some of them, but did they do all of these, John?
I think PBR McGibbon did. I think they did them all.
Yeah. So there's the cutouts. You can put your face in. You get pictures. New sponsor this year, Built Carpentry, came on board to sponsor the cutouts, and that's this entire display. All 5 cutouts is the same display, and kids like to come up here and have fun. We like to have a variety of displays. We like to have displays that are lights and displays where kids can interact with the houses and cutouts and fun with it. We've got these LED floodlights to really light them up so they're really chill. Now here, next to the cutout, we have just an iconic display, and this is the Snoopy and Red Baron display. This one's sponsored by Blackwater Cafe. Dave and Alyssa Duzay, they've been awesome. Not only did they sponsor the display, but as I mentioned before, the opening ceremonies, they partner with Imperial Oil to provide free hot drinks, that's hot chocolate coffee and hot apple cider, until they run out at the opening ceremonies, and they give out hundreds of cups of hot drinks to the families that come out. This is a fun display. Anybody, certainly from my generation, Gen X, who grew up with Snoopy and the Red Baron as part of those Christmas specials you would watch in anticipation of the most wonderful time of year, and it's very nostalgic. So, and I know that Dave and Alyssa love, and their kids love this display. So again, it shows just kind of the variety that we like to employ here, not just standard lights for everything. Now over here, in this next section, we have a number of displays that are under the theme of faith, and specifically Christian faith. We've got the Post Angels. These are sponsored by Guardian City. Guardian City Display Fireworks is actually who does the fireworks, not only for our opening ceremonies, but they're the same company out of Toronto that does the fireworks for Canada Day here. And so they not only help us with that, but they actually sponsored this display, which we really appreciate. Then coming along here, we've got the nativity scene, which is sponsored by yours truly, Dean Holtz Photography. I'm a man of faith, and this means a lot to me. It just brings the richness of the season to me. So it was my pleasure when this display came available to jump on board to sponsor it for the celebration lights for people to enjoy. This one does currently have the RGB, where there's the controllers and some animation to it. Unfortunately, the top is not wanting to work right now, so again, that's something that we've got to address, but we'll get it all working again.
Sorry.
Now, around this way, we've got Noah's Ark, another fun display to do with the Christmas theme. This one is very colorful. And is this one that we got in 2000?
Yeah, you got it right.
Yep. You know, I could just guess for most of them, we got them in 2000. Obviously a big year for the Celebration of Life. We obviously exploded it inside. I wasn't a part of this organization at that time. I came on board a few years later, and my first involvement was with the opening ceremonies to help out with music. Then I got involved with the board and kind of got to see the inner workings. I really appreciate what this organization is about. But this one's a lot of fun. Mellon has been the sponsor for this for the last several years, and I really appreciate that company and their involvement in sponsorship. Now, before we go over this way, I want to backtrack. There's one we almost missed, but I don't want to miss it. It's a little display, and it's also a little different. But up in the tree, we have this display up here. We'll have to swing around to see it properly. It's called Man in the Moon. Now, John, is this one either 2000s or donated by the casino?
That one came from the Balmoral Tavern.
Oh, fair option. Right on. I love it.
That one, they had it on the roof of their bar.
Yeah.
And
so here we go. Well, also Man in the Tree right now. This is sponsored by Hughes Intelligence. Hughes Intelligence has been amazing. They provide security for us. They're not able to provide 24/7 security, but they do have security that stops in the car. We are in talks with them about maybe adding some other logistics to help, because yeah, we did have some vandalism this year. We did have some theft. The truth is we have to deal with that every year. I wish we didn't, but it's going to happen. I mean, we've got all this stuff just out in the open. But Hughes is great. They have the security coming around doing patrols, and they had like 15 security people here for the opening ceremonies, which was amazing. And the people were so awesome. Like I debriefed the team, and they're just like, hey, whatever you need. And they were so helpful, so polite. Barry Bentley, who's the owner of Hughes Intelligence, just has such a heart for being involved in the community. You know, a lot of people, it's interesting, if they've never owned a business, they kind of just, sometimes, I'll just say sometimes, they see business people as just caring about money. That's not true. As a business person myself, and knowing a number of business people, they often are at the forefront of caring for the community, being involved in initiatives like this where they are handing over money and time to help things like this happen, and they're extremely generous people. This is awesome. So this is our veterans tree, and our local branch, our local Legion, has been so generous to donate, to help us out. And now we did this a little differently this year, didn't we, John?
this one, we did it with red and white,
Yeah.
which is colors of veterans.
Yep.
So there's 800 lights on that whole entire tree.
Yep.
All brand new this year for them.
Brand new, nice and bright, really stands out and pop. I love it. And I love the way it's arranged, where you have around the bottom, you have the curtain, and then you have actually have two of these displays. This is one of them. So I mentioned before, the marching soldiers that we looked at near the beginning, sponsored by Gracework Construction. They also sponsor, as I mentioned, they sponsor a second display. Unlike the soldiers right now, this one's fully working, and this is a beautiful and bright display. And thank you to James Barry and his wife for their generosity in making sure that this happens for the community. Well, we're actually, ironically, almost to the end. Time flies when you're having fun. We have another tree here that we just light up. It's not sponsored, but again, just to try to get a flash of color in the park. So this is the second piece on her sign. families to enjoy. Beautiful display. All right, now this next display is probably the one that takes up the most real estate, certainly along the ground level, and this is the herd of reindeer. John has kept it in this location because arguably it really is the best one up on this hill. I love the way it's arranged, and as we just kind of pan, you see all along this hill and all the way down this way, we will see a whole bunch. I don't know what the count is, but it's more than the 9 or 10 reindeer we normally associate with the song. But we'll save each of the understudies for the reindeer that will pull Santa's sleigh and the up and comers.
18.
Now this one is sponsored by Joel Boisvert, who the last several years sponsored this through his business, GMO. But this year he sponsored it as well, but it wasn't through his business. It's another sponsorship in loving memory of Carly Levitt. Again, we had a lot of people that sponsored in loving memory of a loved one. Oftentimes they would tell us that loved one just really appreciated the celebration of lights. Some of them just adored it, and it was just part of a family tradition. And so we're happy to help them that way. However they want to sponsor it, that's fine with us. Oh, I almost forgot. This guy over here, we have the little dove. Now, it wasn't specifically sponsored, was it, John?
No.
No.
I think in 2000 when we got everything, this was purchased by the Knights of Columbus.
Right. Yeah. Well, with about 50 displays or so, yeah, we had looked at this one at the beginning. This is a fun one with Santa Clay. And that kind of rounds out our display. I don't think have I forgotten anything, John?
I don't think so. I think that's all of them.
Yeah. Well, we do have the shooting stars on these posts. Is that part of the same display with the parking lot?
Well, no, that's separate. They're different colored ones, but they're not. I put them on the poles just to fill the gap, but I haven't got them plugged in at all.
Okay. Well, you know what? From the Celebration of Lights Board of Directors, we're happy to do this. It's a lot of fun for us to take the time, and it's not just us. We're a board of 7 people. It honestly takes the entire community coming together, not only in sponsorship of donating funds, gift in kind, which is actually about 70% of what we need to do is gift in kind, where people either give us discounts or just products and services for free. We don't expect that, but we really appreciate it. All that to say, that all comes together, and then in combination with all the time, all the volunteers. On our community setup day, we had about 65 volunteers come out and did an amazing job. We had Northern High School come out, and I think about 30 students, hey John, that came out and helped out. We had Crane Day, we had about 15 people. It takes all that happening to make this happen. So from John and myself on behalf of the board, and I want to mention all the board members, the other 5 members, we have Matthew Mullen, we have Raylan Burgess, we have Paul Babcock Jr., we have Sharon Haslip, and of course Ace Concordia, along with John and myself. And on behalf of all those people and the community of Sarnia, we want to wish you a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and come down as often as you want, especially if it snows, and enjoy the Celebration of Lights.